Is anyone surprised that I am being targeted? Is anyone surprised that I am somehow deemed unworthy to speak about American foreign policy? Or that they see me as a powerful voice that needs to be silenced? Frankly, it is expected, because when you push power, power pushes back.
And to use that logic, well, then all those people should have just said sorry and we'd move on, right? But no, we don't do that. And let me tell you, I take a little bit of offense to what the hell is wrong with me. I'll tell you, there's nothing wrong with me. I took an oath to defend the Constitution, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. Again, I'm not going to apologize for it. I'm going to hold the Constitution, and it's very simple. We really shouldn't even have this debate. If you break the law and you follow due process, there are consequences to your actions, even if you say sorry. So we can try all of the diversion tactics that we would like. It doesn't change the fact that someone broke the law and that someone should be held accountable. It is disappointing, Mr. Speaker, that their own party can't hold them accountable, that they have such hypocrisy.
You know the old saying, when you push power, power pushes right back. Ilhan Omar loves quoting that line to frame herself as the victim in the story. She wants people to believe she's simply an innocent voice being targeted for speaking up. But today, we're going to pull back the curtain on that narrative. First, we'll watch her take the House floor, presenting herself as the ultimate victim, only to be firmly challenged and completely dismantled by Rep. Lisa McClain. Then we'll look at what happens when the so-called victim actually holds a bit of power. And here's the twist. Instead of standing for fairness, she turns into one of the toughest bullies in the room, going after a respected veteran statesman. Trust me, you won't want to miss this moment where the narrative flips and the hypocrisy is fully exposed.
Mr. Adams, in 1991, you pleaded guilty to 2 counts of withholding information from Congress regarding your involvement in the Iran-Contra affair, for which you were later pardoned by President George H.W. Bush. I fail to understand why members of this committee or the American people should find any testimony that you give today to be truthful.
If I can respond to that.
It wasn't a question. That was not a question. I reserve the right to my time.
It is not right.
That was not a question.
Committee can attack
on February 8th,
who is not permitted to reply.
That was not a question. Thank you for your participation. On February 8th, 1982, you testified before the Senate Foreign Relations Committee about U.S. policy in El Salvador. In that hearing, you dismissed as communist propaganda report about the massacre of El Mozote, in which more than 800 civilians, including children as young as 2 years old, were brutally murdered by U.S.-trained troops. During that massacre, some of those troops bragged about raping a 12-year-old girl before they killed them. Girls before they killed them. You later said that the U.S. policy in El Salvador was a fabulous achievement. Yes or no, do you still think so?
From the day that President Duarte was elected in a free election to this day, El Salvador has been a democracy. That's a fabulous achievement.
Yes or no, do you think that massacre was a fabulous achievement that happened under our watch?
That is a ridiculous question, and I
yes or no?
No.
I will take that as a yes.
I am not going to respond to that kind of personal attack, which is not a question.
Yes or no, would you support an armed faction within Venezuela that engages in war crimes, crimes against humanity or genocide if you believe they were serving U.S. interest, as you did in Guatemala, El Salvador, and Nicaragua?
I am not going to respond to that question. I'm sorry. I don't think this entire line of questioning is meant to be real questions, and so I will not reply.
Whether under your watch, a genocide will take place, and you will look the other way because American interests were being upheld, is a fair question, because the American people want to know that anytime we engage a country, that we think about what our actions could be and how we believe our values are being furthered. That is my question. Will you make sure that human rights are not violated and that we uphold international and human rights?
I suppose there is a question in there, and the answer is that the entire thrust of American policy in Venezuela is to support the Venezuelan people's effort to restore democracy to their country. That's our policy.
I don't think anybody disputes that. The question I had for you is that does the interest of the United States include protecting human rights and include protecting people against genocide?
All right, let's start with the warm-up act. Did you catch that opening line? Is anyone surprised that I am being targeted? Congresswoman, let's be honest for a moment. No one is surprised, but not for the reason you claim. It's not because you're some uniquely powerful voice being unfairly attacked. It's because there's a long list of controversies that you've never really addressed head-on. There she is, standing at the podium, speaking about how her voice will only grow louder and stronger. But look closely at what's happening. Instead of confronting the real reasons she was removed from the committee, past rhetoric, accusations involving anti-Semitic tropes, and other controversies, she pivots the conversation toward identity and persecution. It's a classic deflection, and that's exactly why Rep. Lisa McClain's response landed so hard. If you saw it, you know what I mean. It was the political equivalent of a mic drop. Now here's where things get interesting. Remember the version of Ilhan Omar we just saw? The one saying she's being silenced? Watch what happens the moment she's the one holding a bit of power. Take her exchange with Elliot Abrams. Calling it an interrogation might even be generous. It felt more like a staged confrontation. Right from the start, she brings up a plea deal from 1991 connected to the Iran-Contra affair, something Abrams was later pardoned for by George H.W. Bush. By opening with that decades-old controversy, the tone is set immediately. Before Abrams even has a chance to respond, the narrative is already framed against him. Then, when he tries to reply, when he attempts to defend himself, she cuts him off with, "That was not a question." I reserve my time. This tactic is familiar in political hearings. When someone isn't looking for a real exchange, they keep the floor and prevent the response. The goal isn't dialogue, it's the soundbite, a short clip that can travel across social media. And that's where the contrast becomes striking. Moments earlier, she was speaking about being silenced. Yet here she is, controlling the gavel and limiting a witness's chance to answer. To critics, that looks like a contradiction. During the exchange, she presses Abrams about events connected to the El Mosote massacre, asking whether he considers it a fabulous achievement. Abrams responds that he was referring to El Salvador's eventual transition from civil war to democratic elections, not the tragedy itself. Whether people agree with his interpretation or not, the exchange shows two very different styles. One side pushing hard with accusations, the other attempting to clarify. In the end, Abrams calls the question unfair, saying it isn't meant to be answered. Supporters of Omar argue she was holding a public official accountable for past policies. Critics say it looked more like a political performance. And that brings us back to the bigger question. If a politician asks for respect and fairness in debate, should they show the same to the people they challenge? What do you think? Was Omar simply doing her job by pressing tough questions? Or did the exchange cross the line into political theater? Let me know what you think.